Good evening. It is music time. All right, so yeah, that is an intro, I guess. That's what we got. I'm just getting my notes open here. But yeah, long story short, we have exactly 10 releases this week. I am hoping to get through them in not record time, obviously, but in kind of in short order. I actually had, I do want to say this at the beginning, I actually had an 11th release, or I should say that I had originally planned on only doing 10, but I ended up listening to kind of 11. I have 11 releases in my notes. The problem is one of them had been on streaming service, both Yandex Music and Spotify, all week for a long time, and then it just kind of disappeared, like today. So I guess I have an album sort of already in the chamber for next week. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating because it was one that I wanted to talk about. However, I scrambled. So I think this week we have a few shorter things than we normally do. We have 4 EPs, 2 mini albums, and then that leaves us with, 4 full-length albums? Is that right? 1, 2, 3. No, wait, we have 3 mini albums. We have 3 mini albums. Right, sorry, it's my bad. I miscounted. But yeah. Anyway, it is kind of a mix. I will, again, we're not doing groupings by categories anymore. It's all over the place. I will just kind of get this out there now, though. We don't have any rap or hip hop, and we don't have any electronic music. So it is going to be kind of rock for the most part. There's a little bit of metal, a little bit. In fact, we're going to kind of open with that, and that'll kind of be the metal for the evening. And then there's quite a bit of rock and then pop and indie and stuff like that. So it's it is what it is, I guess, as they say, as I say. But anyway, let me stop dallying and just kind of get over to it. We are going to start with this album right here. We're actually starting with a full length, even though, realistically, I should probably start with the EPs and then move to the mini albums and then move into the full lengths. But I do think that there is something to be said about ordering things kind of by albums that were still good, but which I preferred least of all, and which I probably won't come back around to, or which I probably wouldn't spend a lot of time listening to multiple times, and then moving away from that in the opposite direction of things that I think are really fun and good to listen to, and that I would like to listen to multiple times. So that's why we're starting with a full length. This is the album Хаос, which is chaos in Russian. Fun linguistic fact, the Greek letter that in English gets translated into CH and pronounced like a K, chaos, chronology. I cannot think of any other ones right now, but I'm sure there are some more. In Russian gets translated to a H. So in English we have chaos, and in Russian it's Хаос, like Dr. House, but not the same thing. Anyway, this is my point. This is the, it's a one-man project, one-man band type of thing. Magothy, I don't know how you pronounce it. Kind of some picturesque album artwork here. But yeah, this one-man band, kind of out of Moscow. This is the second release. I did not hear the first release, but this release was described as more black sounding, but less black metal in the actual music, which makes sense. The black metal fingerprints are all over the place here, but most of the black metal sounds, like the guitars and the vocals, just really are absent. What we get instead is this sort of dark and heavy metal that puts as much emphasis on mood as it does intensity. I think that there's not really a category for this, just probably just like the extreme metal category. I did see somebody online say that it reminded them of more recent Rotting Christ releases, which if you're familiar with that group out of Greece, that might be a point of reference here, but you'll get the idea of it here in just a second. So let's give it a shot. So we do have the blast beats a little bit, right? So it's not like completely non-black, but it's not even the track I wanted to start with. It was my bad, I wasn't paying attention. Korosik, I just opened the chat, so clever. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the atmosphere, right? Like it's got a nice balance. It's an overall good album, and I always do like to highlight one-person projects because I always think that's impressive, all things considered. So yeah, again, we have a lot of the heavier sound, but it's not as extreme as a lot of the metal that I think I typically think of when I think of metal music. This feels like it's kind of it's sort of like, I don't know, radio friendly, kind of heavy extreme metal. But I do hear the like sort of darker sound that they are describing. It's kind of there throughout this. You know, elements that kind of feel a little thrashy, feel a little black metal, but anyway, you get the idea, right? It's a pretty general kind of heavy metal, extreme metal sound, but it doesn't go too far in that extreme direction. So it actually, even despite the metal genre, it does feel relatively accessible for, I think, a lot of people. So that is the artist or the project Magothy, and the album Haos. So yes, we are starting with Chaos, but I'm doing my best to order it. Just like the universe is slowly spinning into it, yet we have the creation of stars and all of that stuff. I guess, yeah. Anyway, moving on. We are on to something. It's got a lot of rock energy too. This is the group Kурящих, no smokers, with their EP. Let's be real, 15 minutes long. It's an EP. Будет, классно. Классно in Russian is like cool, kind of. I guess you could think of it like that. So it'll be cool is how you translate this. I've talked a lot about cup size on these streams. That was one of the albums I talked about when I was covering albums I missed in 2025. In autumn of 2025, I talked about one of their releases that came out then. Cup size is kind of a big deal right now. It's got a lot of that kind of like alt punk energy, or whatever the hell cup size is. But here there's more distortion. Musically, there are quite a few nods towards Nirvana. And there's a bit of that like sort of modern internet Russian sound, which I guess is like kind of archive core, which is that aforementioned to distortion that I was talking about. And this is just a fun album. I had a good time with it. This I don't know. This feels like it's kind of a split, or like I don't know what this is all about, but the tracks that they're on are kind of some of the best ones, not gonna lie. So, but yeah, just get into it. It's musically got the energy of like a house party from one of those teenage comedy films of the early 2000s. You know what I'm talking about? That's what this feels like, and I love it. I'm all for it. Scotty doesn't know, that type of stuff. Interesting album artwork too. I like it. There's like this retro-esque feel to it. It's simple, but it is, I don't know, puzzling. So yeah, is the singing kind of mush-mouth, mumbly stuff? It is. But I think overall that description just came to mind of the sort of house party music that you would hear in a teenage or like a teen comedy from the early 2000s, like Euro Trip. God, Euro Trip's the one that comes to mind. Anyway, like that's the... Project X was a little bit later. I don't know. There are American Pie. There's countless ones. I was just like Hollywood was turning them out. This is that type of music, and it's fun. It's kind of stupid. It's kind of silly. It's kind of immature, but there's something in the mix, that grunginess to it as well, that works. And again, with it being so short, it doesn't, as I often say, overstay its welcome. It functions very well in this format. So that is the EP "Будет, классно" by the group "Курящих нет." And we're moving on. I'm just on it today. We're speeding through. No dilly dallying. Okay, this is also my screen turned off. This is the EP "AGAVA" by the group PUNG! Exclamation point. Also, I'm going to give you a second. Can you guess the reference? Guess the reference of this album artwork. I didn't get it until somebody told it to me. It is a reference to the cult classic Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, just done up in a lot more, what's the term? It's very adorable. Also, it's the record label uses the dead dog thing, so it's actually a MERZOTA label, so it's literally dead dog label. Anyway, hardcore punk out of Siberia, has moments that lean almost into metal, just hard, fast, aggressive. The group references groups like Converge, The Chariot, Idols, or Turnstile, for those of you who are familiar with sort of hardcore punk, either older ones or newer ones. But their sound doesn't actually really sound like it's derivative of those groups. Those are just sort of the sounds and the energies that they were going for. Yeah, good stuff. Let's just kind of get into it again. Yo, that was rough in my headphones. I hope it was okay for you all out there. It's hardcore punk, right? It's kind of like, It's either for you, it's not for you. There are certain musical genres that just aren't for everybody. Even in the metal community, there are people who just are not fans of this, but if you do like punk and you do prefer the harder variety of punk, then yeah, this short little EP is God damn, I think my Bluetooth connection's a little wonky, but okay. A little bit more of that metal here, right, that I was referring to or alluding to earlier. But still very much hardcore punk. All right, we'll cut it there. Yeah, that is hardcore punk, EP AGAVA from the group PUNG. Love the album artwork. Fantastic. It's adorable. It's a weird pop culture reference, and yeah, just fantastic. Moving on, though. That's probably the peak hardness. I just want to get that out of the way, too, for people who are not huge fans of it. You're pretty much safe. In fact, you are safe from here on out. Here we have the EP Svetlое by a group. It's Wyym, but it's supposed to be, you're supposed to look at it like Russian letters. It is the group Shum, is how it's pronounced. This is a reunion release, if you will. Kind of shoegaze, alt-rock outfit out of St. Petersburg. I'm not entirely sure if they're still around as a group or if they're still based in Russia. It's kind of unclear what's going on with this group, but they were around for a number of years. And about 2 years ago, they got back together, had a little bit of a mini reunion, because in 2022, and then kind of into 2023, obviously at the start of the war, they kind of stopped making music. I think part of the group is currently abroad. And anyway, when there was a small reunion with some of the members of the group a few years back, they revisited some of the tracks that they had been in the process of recording in 2022 and which kind of got left unfinished. And what they did is they went back in, they re-recorded certain things. In fact, you can see album version here, right? And they reworked everything and they've put it out now as this EP. Yeah, nice release. It's kind of like grungier shoegaze, if you will. I feel like that third track's actually a pretty good place to start as well. Album artwork here, kind of confusing. Looks like something from Leatherface's scrapbook. So and if you like this type of music, I have good news. We have more of it to come later in the stream, so. Definitely one of the shoegazier ones, but I think you can hear that alt rock sound in there as well. Got a little bit more of an edge than a lot of the other more traditional shoegaze groups do. Excellent. Excellent, Korozek, excellent. I gotta skip ahead a bit, like the chorus here really. Maybe the chorus, maybe it's like more in the bridge area, but. Yeah, I love this part right here. Where it kind of swells and just fills up the speakers. Все надежды обрушатся вниз. I mean, yeah, Korozek, to go with the comment you made about the music, that vibes matching the Russian youth vibes, gray commie blocks. The lyrics are also right there too. So yeah, anyway, really good stuff. Really nice little EP there. I don't know if the group is still around, if they're figuring a way to move forward, or this is just kind of a coda on their existence, but this is the group Szum, is how you pronounce it, even though it's spelled W-Y-Y-M. Szum is the name. And the EP is Svetloye. So, yeah, and honestly, Korozek is right there in the chat where, and I think this is actually one of the reasons why shoegaze and post-punk are so common here in Russia, and just in general, I think like in Eastern Europe. I don't want to like exclude Belarus or like any of the former bloc countries, but I think there's a reason for those specific genres taking hold so well here. But we're gonna move on to something a little different. This is an odd one. The music, or not the music, the album artwork here is something else. This is the artist, or this is the group Intouchwithrobots, and this is their mini album Such a Mess. Last week on the Echo group album, Kersona, if I remember, Kersonka, I think is what it was called. We had this sort of Muse mixed with Radiohead. This time around, we have Muse mixed with alt metal. There are some tracks here that definitely recall Deftones. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the first track is literally called Knife Party, which there's no way that's not a reference to White Pony. There are some tracks that reminded me of Nine Inch Nails circa year 0. And then there are just some other tracks that have the general alt metal sound from about 20 some years ago. Although there is a bit more of the modern gent edge to the guitars. The singer, with the exception of the 6th track here, Kaksigda, does sing in English, and his voice really, really is reminiscent of Matt Bellamy of Muse. So this is actually a group originally from Vladivostok, but they've relocated to Moscow some time ago. An artistic exchange between St. Petersburg and Seattle. I don't know what's going on in the Seattle scene these days, though, so maybe it's not like the place right now. Anyway, we'll start with the. I don't even know where to start with. I'm gonna start with Knife Party just because like we got the Deftones reference, and I think. Like, you can hear Matt Bellamy's, Muse, the Muse lead singer voice here, right? Wait for him to kind of open up a little bit. I guess he's not really singing.
I can't imagine what's at my door. Go to the ground to be my soul. And still you're begging for so much more.
I guess that's not a good one to highlight for Muse. I forgot. But this was one of the ones that came, I think on the weekend was the last time I listened to it, so. A little bit of Muse flavor there, but I swear to God, there's a better example. It's one of those things where a lot of times when I'm listening to this, just like, oh yeah, there's no way I'll forget which track I was thinking of, and then I do. I feel like maybe. I mean, it actually doesn't sound so much like Muse here. I don't know. I'm not hallucinating. If you listen to the mini here, you'll get it. It's just like it's there throughout. Whatever. I mean, this has a lot of actually Knife Party atmosphere from White Pony. So, or no, not Knife Party. Oh God, what's the? I gotta find the track now from White Pony where Chino is. Am I thinking of Digital Bath? I don't know. Maybe it's not even off of White Pony. I need to go back and revisit early Deftones. Passenger is the track I'm thinking of. Doesn't matter. Anyway, you get the idea. It's not too heavy, but again, there's a lot of that sort of alt metal, early 2000s type of, or I guess hard rock, radio metal, whatever you want to call it. But vocally, there's a lot of the Muse lead singer sound there, Matt Bellamy. It's there. If you listen to it from start to finish, you will be reminded of it time and time again. So it's an interesting mix. It's one of those things. I maybe would have put this earlier in, but I think it's just kind of, I don't know. It's a sound that I hadn't really, first of all, expected in 2026, and so it's for that reason also something I hadn't really heard in a long time. So it was nice. It was refreshing. So that is the album, or the mini Such a Mess, from the group In Touch with Robots. Okay, now this next one is kind of a cheat. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I kind of jumped the gun. I highlighted what at that point in time I thought was just a one-off release. Ciolkowska, or Ciolkowska is the name of the group, and 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I highlighted what I at that point in time thought was an EP, Bomba Nastoyashchego. It turns out that the 2 tracks that they released were literally just like a warm-up for the full-length release. The information around it, I guess I didn't maybe dig hard enough. Long story short, we have a full-length now, and those 2 tracks are here as well at the very end. Those 2 tracks are still here, just as good. You can think of them as an appetizer, or if you really, really like them, the main course, and everything that comes before it is the first and the second courses, I guess, of the meal. I have no idea. It's got the same spacey prog psych rock sound. Here there are more vocals, though, just because there are more tracks. But there's still plenty of those longer tracks, right? 6:24, 5:13, 5. Like, they're still mostly long tracks. Have room to kind of expand, build that atmosphere. So yeah, if you enjoyed Ciolkowska and Bomba Nastoyashchego that I highlighted a few weeks back, then you'll enjoy this too. I'll just highlight a little bit here as well. Yo, headphones, what are we doing? Also, pretty solid album artwork there. I also really like the design for their band name. Whoever did that really put some thought into it. If we have that sort of spacey psych rock sound, then we're going to have very long tracks that just kind of, they move forward, but they take a very long and winding path to wherever it is that they're going. The bossa nova one's kind of interesting too, but I'll leave that for you to discover if you decide to listen to the album. So yeah, like I was saying, there are more vocals over the course of the full length than there were on just those 2 songs that I highlighted a few weeks back, but by and large, the space and the sound here is still very much intact. You get the general gist. And again, I've featured these or this group honestly not that long ago because I don't know, I didn't dig enough. But yeah, if you liked it last time around, then you'll like it this time around. There's more of it. So that is the full-length album Bomba, Nastoyashchego by the group Ciolkowska. And again, just nice album artwork. A lot going on here. Very colorful, very eye-catching. All right. This is actually the album that replaced the album that disappeared from streaming services. Now, hopefully, the disappeared album will reappear, and I'll have an easier week next week. But I'm actually glad. This actually came out in January, January 23rd. And it was one that back then I actually, like, the album artwork definitely caught my attention. It's kind of mountains and then plants and a little bicycle down there. It's just got it's very, very nice, very simplistic, but also just, I don't know. It looks like something that you would see on a tote bag at a farmer's market. And I don't necessarily mean that in a disparaging way, but it's got like that sort of artsy, oddball kind of like I make my own compost type of vibe. And that's chill. That's okay, because that is this type of music. This is oddball indie art rock. It's oftentimes quite minimalistic in its arrangement, but it's also not afraid to go this big sound with the orchestration in the arrangements when the songs build to big moments, which does make them more powerful for that. It is pretty eclectic, but there's also something comfortable about this. So this is the album, or the mini album, Erased Tapes, and the artist is MERZOTA. Let's start with actually the 7th track. I think that's it. So there's that sparseness that I was talking about. But you can even hear it here, right? Like we jumped in, you can hear it has built, it's filled out just a little bit. So again, you can hear like all of the odd percussion throughout here, just weird little bleeps and bloops in the background. It's very artsy. But at the same time, that kind of it's not lo-fi, but like again, that kind of emptiness or the not going over the top with the instrumentation and just like the overall sound. It's still kind of quiet. Even though it's kind of odd, it still feels, like I said, comfortable. There's just something about this that's kind of, I don't know. It's very indie art rock, but I know I have like this weird new wave synth in there too. So just kind of whatever instrument or whatever sound was laying around in the studio, but it works. Yeah. The lo-fi is definitely one of the descriptions I saw with this too. And I definitely think that the lo-fi you can hear on certain tracks more than others. This has definitely got more of the lo-fi energy, yeah. But then we have the electric guitars. So yeah, I mean, I do recommend just it's kind of odd. It does sound kind of odd. There's a lot of just like weird bleeps and bloops or just kind of random feeling instruments from time to time. But it's an oddly cohesive finished product when everything from start to finish. It actually starts with an instrumental track. It ends with an instrumental track. There's an instrumental track in the middle. So it does have a flow to it. It's not just sort of, what's the slaps together. It's not haphazardly thrown together type of thing. So it's actually quite like a playful, I guess is maybe a good word for it too. A very playful listen. So that is the album, the mini album there, Erased Tapes by the artist MERZOTA. Okay, we're already on the final three. Just wow, that's like moving quick. This is the EP Edge by the group Water Please. This is post-rock, post-metal out of Kemerovo, which it's got this sort of heavy sound a la Russian Circles, but also knows when to tune it back, and they do more of like the post-rock style a la Caspian. There is probably a big idea behind the music, right? We've got the album artwork, which I do kind of think was maybe AI generated, but you know, it's kind of, what are you going to do? Small groups. I've used it too, obviously. So I'm sure that you can see that there's definitely clearly some message to all of this. I don't really care. After last week with Shumy, the Shishisho, and the Mrak Ruskva Lesa, and now we get this EP here. The sort of post-metal, post-rock lovers are eating very well. So, God, I'm just going to start with this, yeah. So yeah, start pretty intense, drop things down, calm them down a little bit, and then obviously it's gonna kick back up here later in the track, right? Also, speaking of the whole Greek CH is a K sound, and in Russian it's a H, this is actually an example of Russians translating chronos, which is with an H in Russian. But when you transliterate the Russian H into English, you spell it KH. So, anyway, it's just like a weird translation type thing. Transliteration, I guess, technically, but... I don't know, it's heavy. It's good. It's post music's always very hard to kind of highlight. It's kind of like doom metal when you have 12-minute tracks. You're like, I swear it's good. You just have to actually listen to it. It's just, they do a very nice job of when they want to keep it quiet and a little bit more introspective or reflective, then they dial it back and it feels like that. But the minute they want to launch into something a little heavier and more pummeling, they don't have any issues with that either. So it is this sort of, I guess you could kind of think about it as the dichotomy that you see on this album artwork, with the sort of very bucolic nature scene on the right hand side, and then the factory workers with flamethrowers. I'm sorry, I just realized that now. Like, what? I guess this is what Elon Musk is. This is like his what was the name of his flamethrower thing that he was gonna sell? I don't remember. I don't know how he would have flamethrowers in a factory if he feels like an OSHA violation. Yeah, like, this has a lot of Russian Circles energy, and I'm all for it. All right, I'm gonna cut it off there. You get the idea. Just really good. There are a lot of really good sort of post-rock, post-metal groups here in Russia. I think that's also one of the music scenes that does pretty well for itself. At least in Russia. I'm not sure about the post-Soviet space in general. But yeah, out of Kemerovo, this is well, they have a few releases under their belt, but this feels like it's a very promising sign of the direction that they're moving in, and what's to come from them. So this is the EP Edge from the group Water, Please. And then we're down to the final two. And this one, oh God, this one's something. This is the mini album by the group judaschrist. Я перепутал вчерашний день сном. It's a snom, I guess I should emphasize. It's a snom. I mixed up yesterday with a dream, I guess is how you would translate it. There has been a lot of talk from me and just in general in the music scene, and there is something to be said about it in terms of the sound that we're seeing. This idea of Deftones core, right? And we have experienced it. I've highlighted it to varying degrees over this last year. But the main idea of Deftones core is that it like sounds like modern Deftones, right? Kind of Diamond Eyes, Saturday Night Wrist, anything in the last, we'll say, like 12 years or so, right? Post 2010, effectively. But never the early Deftones, never Adrenaline, never Around the Fur. Well, there's good news. for those of you out there who prefer those earlier albums, this mini here is Deftones' core of the old school sound. It's got the heaviness, the aggression, kind of, but with, you know, a little bit of that spaced out sound that is a component, a key component to the Deftones thing. And I don't want to like kind of, I'm talking about the Deftones, but like that's what this sound is. That's just, when I threw this on and started listening to it, it was just like, oh yes, this is, I know this sound. I love this sound. So I was absolutely floored listening to this thing. I'm still floored every time I've come back to it. So let's just get into it. The like heavily reverb vocals, kind of half whispered, half sung, that, I don't know, kind of menacing edge to the guitar. Oh man, if you're I go for Deftones. Like, I don't know, throughout the entirety of this mini album, I was just like, oh god, that's adrenaline, that's Around the Fur. Get a little bit of Be Quiet and Drive, a little bit of My Own Shove, a little bit of My Own Summer, Bored. I mean, it definitely is more of an Around the Fur release, but you do get some adrenaline moments as well too. I don't know, this group, quite young from the images available. They have a self-titled EP from 2024, so this is realistically like their first, and also like one of the songs on this one is from that one, so this is kind of their first release. They've got a really well-formed sound for a young duo. I mean, if those guys look like they're, I don't know, like I hope I'm not offending them if they eventually see this, but they look like they're 17. But holy crap, like this is so well done. Tool, yeah, I could see the Tool vibes is there as well too. So. This is another one of the January releases that, because the first week of releases in February was just so mid, I listened to probably 6 or 7 releases that I just was like hard pass on. So I'm glad the beginning of February kind of sucked, because this was at the very end of January and I just would have missed it otherwise. This is like very good stuff. So I didn't mention, I love the album artwork too. It's puzzling again. Like, it looks, I mean, it's very clearly a piece of art that somebody did. You got an arm up here, a face peeking through a rib cage, but it feels a bit like a dream. Maybe the dream that is referenced in the album title, so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to go back and listen to that again in its entirety, and maybe some just early Deftones as well. Yeah, really good stuff. Very, very pleasantly surprised. And I do hope that these guys keep recording and putting stuff out and pushing that sound, because they do it very, very well. And that is the group judaschrist. And the album here, the mini album, is перепутал вчерашний день, сном. Chef's kiss, right? Like, so good. But I'm gonna finish today with, I mentioned earlier with Shum that there was more shoegaze to come. I'm gonna finish with some shoegaze here. This is the album Sunburned by the group Mint Tea. Yeah, shoegaze is kind of like all the rage these days, especially here in Russia, especially on the indie rock scene. And like, just like with Shum, shoegaze isn't the only thing in the mix here. But if with Shum there was that kind of alt rock sound thrown in here, you can't ignore the indie rock and dream pop influences. The result here is something that sounds, it's got this dreamy, hazy sound. At times you might recall Beach House or Tamarin. But then it also is going to remind you of Slow Dive. So it's just nice. It's pleasant. And I don't know. I mean, like, we're still in winter, but that the sort of, the sun is coming back now. We're getting to a point in the winter where when the sun is out and shining, it actually has a little bit of heat in it, right? And so that promise of warm, hazy days is ahead. And like, this is just a nice album to kind of, I don't know, put you in that mood. But I'm going to jump in here towards the end. Also, kind of a nice mix of English and Russian lyrics across this as well. We'll even go with the soon it will be spring kind of song. Скоро наступит весна. So yeah, this is definitely more brighter and upbeat than the Shum release from earlier in the stream here. Just happy, just kind of glowy, upbeat, but also shimmery. I guess you could describe it as that too. I do want to highlight too that the second track and the 10th track. The 10th track is just the English version of the second track, but it's kind of a good track. So, like, the fact that it is repeated basically at the beginning and the end, kind of willing to overlook. I'll go with the Russian version. All right, we'll cut it off there. Just I feel like, sample of 3 little tracks there is a pretty good idea of what you're getting into. Definitely atmosphere-wise and tonally wise, a bit different from what came before, but I think there's like a nice kind of moving from Judas Christ into mint tea. It's kind of a nice balance, and I do think that overall, with spring, like in North America for sure, I feel like a lot of people, like my family for sure, the spring is definitely feels like it's very close. It does feel quite far away here, but it does also, we're coming out of the freeze right now. Tomorrow is supposed to be above freezing, so the end is nigh for winter, and having music like this is always a nice, it's a nice way to get yourself mentally prepped for sunnier days and the buds on the trees and the first blooms sprouting from the ground. So, also a release from January. This is the album Sunburned by Mint Tea. And that's it. That's 10 releases. I rolled through them pretty quickly, but I guess that's just how it is this week. Like I said, there was an 11th release technically that I was ready to talk about, but it's been taken off of Spotify for some reason. I was actually trying to find a reason for it. I went to the artist's Contacte page, tried to find some sort of information, so nothing. Hopefully it's back up next week or the week after. Hopefully it comes back. It is a good release. I was pretty excited to talk about it. It's a rap album, but anyway, I guess we'll see. Sometimes music disappears and then reappears at very odd times in the future. I've seen it actually happen more than once. So that's it. I do think, I know last week I actually went through, I think, 14 releases last week. And while that is possible, I do think in the future I'm going to try to limit myself to 12 maximum. Like, I know that there are sometimes I do want to roll through more. I want to push through more because I listen to a lot, or it gets to be the end of the month and I want to highlight more before the next month begins. I can kind of start moving away from it. But I do think that I'm going to try to limit myself to 10, 12 maximum. And then that way, if I listen to more, like it is with this week, I already have an album ready. And then that way, if I get busy, I don't really feel as stressed about listening to, trying to squeeze in an extra release or two. And that way I've kind of got like a little backlog. So, like I said, I already got one done for next week if it shows up. I got one done for the future. I guess we'll see when we get around to it, but I'm definitely going to highlight it at some point in time. But that's it. That's Yeah, honestly, Karozik, I feel like streaming on YouTube is one of those things. Twitch is kind of where everybody goes to, but Twitch is such a weird community because it just is gamers or like what's the AI generated streamers, like the weeboo type streamers or hot tub cam girl type things. And so yeah, Twitch is weird, and I guess like there are political streamers on Twitch too, but yeah, I mean, YouTube does have that as an option, but they just don't push it very much. It's kind of interesting why they haven't yet, but I would guess that there's probably something to do with just like the moderation, like in their terms of service, that they're not quite ready to deal with that legal can of worms, because then obviously like once a video is finished being live, then it can get uploaded, and so it's one of those things where I think the YouTube algorithm, whatever, can't monitor the stream in real time. I don't know. I'm sure there's something to it, but who knows? Maybe someday it'll be more developed. Or maybe there'll just be a few holdouts like me who just are still prattling on here. But that's it. We got some music. Hopefully there were some good things there for everyone who tuned in. It was a pretty... I would say it was one of those weeks where it didn't get too extreme. It was kind of a nice median type of offering, where it was the type of music that didn't really stray too far from what your median music enjoyer your average music enjoyer might enjoy. So yeah, anyway, I'll be back next week, next Thursday, 10 p.m. Moscow time, doing the music again. I will be back on Wednesday, and then obviously this coming Sunday at 9 p.m. Moscow time, talk about the news. Basically nothing happened today, just more discussion of Telegram, because that's how distraught everyone is still. And then yeah, I didn't film a video today, did not get around to it, but I kind of have a day off tomorrow, so I'm gonna wake up early and get cracking in that. So tomorrow is Friday the 13th, supposedly the unlucky day, one of them. So I'm gonna get up and make a little video about some Russian superstitions and what they mean and how you can avoid them. So if that's something that you're worried about, or you've thought about or never thought about, I don't know, whatever, it'll be up tomorrow evening. I'll be a good little boy and get to work on that. But everyone have a good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is. I will see you when I see you, and until then, take care of yourselves. Пока-пока.